From the Grayman Briefing, this is a summary of recent developments regarding the Second Amendment, cybersecurity, protests, supply chain disruptions, national security, law and order, free speech, censorship, government oversight, and more.
For the fourth quarter of 2025, this is Update 4 to the Grayman Briefing summary of recent developments. Across the country, in Florida, the Secret Service and FBI investigated a sniper post overlooking Air Force One's position at Palm Beach International Airport. In D.C., the Pentagon press corps dissolved after new media restrictions prompted nearly all major outlets to withdraw. On a national level, analysts projected multiple global flashpoints: ongoing war in Ukraine, rising tensions between Israel and Hezbollah, Houthi attacks in the Red Sea, and Chinese pressure on Taiwan, all threatening U.S. interests. Domestically, cartel violence in Mexico, gang wars in Haiti, and immigration-related protests could trigger instability and border risks. The Department of Homeland Security maintained a medium-level terrorism threat focused on soft targets and online radicalization, while cybersecurity analysts warned of increased attacks on power grids, water systems, and financial infrastructure. An Amazon outage with AWS disrupted Signal, Ring, Venmo, and other cloud-reliant apps, exposing the vulnerability of centralized networks. Meanwhile, Chicago's mayor and far-left groups associated with the No Kings protests are calling for a nationwide general strike. Finally, the Trump administration authorized CIA covert operations in the Southern Caribbean and Venezuela. Let's begin today with global conflict. The war in Ukraine continues to endanger U.S. and allied interests through ongoing Russian strikes on cities and energy grids. Rising conflict risks include possible Israel and Hezbollah escalation, China's military presence in Taiwan, and Iranian proxies striking U.S. bases in Iraq and Syria. Houthi rebels' attacks on Red Sea shipping lanes threaten global commerce and fuel costs, while Haiti's gang violence and cartel conflicts in Mexico could spill across U.S. borders. Venezuela's dispute with Guyana over the oil-rich Essequibo region further complicates Caribbean stability. The combination of all these global conflicts underscores mounting risk to trade routes, energy infrastructure, and U.S. security operations. Moving now into the infrastructure and cybersecurity briefing. On October 20th, Amazon Web Services U.S. East 1 servers malfunctioned, interrupting communication, and cloud-based platforms such as the encrypted Signal app, Ring, the security system at home, and Venmo, along with Snapchat, Slack, and countless others, were all disrupted. AWS attributed the disruption to internal monitoring system failure, affecting load balancers and network connectivity. So this incident temporarily disabled users' ability to send encrypted messages, access live home security feeds, or even conduct financial transactions. The outage highlighted widespread dependence on a single provider and the fragility of modern communications. Moving on, analysts warned of growing cyber and physical threats to key U.S. infrastructure by both state and non-state actors. Ransomware and SCADA system intrusions could interrupt essential services, including power and water supply. Intelligence reports show increased targeting of utilities and energy networks in major cities. Isolated incidents of sabotage and malicious vandalism may cause regional outages and degrade confidence in national resilience. Speaking of malicious vandalism, this is typically what is called, or what is referred to, when you're seeing these thieves trying to steal copper or other precious metals from fiber optic cables. They think that there's copper in them, or at least that they can get it, or they confuse them with phone lines. But it's causing isolated outages everywhere, and it's near weekly. So keep an eye on that. Let's look now at civil unrest, extremism, and societal collapse. Nationwide, on October 18th, anti-Trump activists associated with the No Kings protested in all 50 states, multiple cities in each state. While most No King protests remained peaceful, we tracked over 30 that resulted in vandalism and assaults, along with arrests. Nearly all disrupt traffic and local businesses. In the recent protest on the 18th, activists mocked Kirk's death, stabbed effigies of Trump, vandalized, assaulted police, and refused dispersal orders. But yes, most, if you're counting the majority, most were peaceful, and mainly elderly white people protesting. Over in Chicago, the mayor there has urged Americans to unite in a nationwide general strike against what he calls corporate greed and the Trump administration. The Party for Socialism and Liberation, or the PSL, is now calling for those same general strikes. So the mayor's statements came during the No King's Day rally, where he referenced historical labor movements and called for racial and social unity. PSL's posts and their calls are amplifying that message, and they're encouraging coordinated work stoppages as a form of political resistance. Analysts noted that while most previous No Kings protests were peaceful, dozens resulted, as we just said, in vandalism, assaults, and arrests. No official date for the strike has been announced. It's kind of in the early planning stages, but even if it does happen, it's not going to have a large effect. It'll be isolated just like these No Kings protests were. Moving on, domestic U.S. flashpoints around immigration enforcement, Gaza-related protests, and the 2026 election rallies could spark localized violence. Disinformation campaigns may amplify tensions. Triggers include new deportation operations, National Guard deployment to combat crime and riots, violent protest at federal buildings, and provocative rhetoric, far-left direct actions, support for far-left violence by politicians, and online disinformation targeting the elections. And of course, pro-Iranian, pro-Palestinian, these anti-ICE and anti-Trump, along with LGBT protests remain ongoing. Join at graymanbriefing.com for real-time updates. Let's look now at the national security briefing. In Palm Beach, Florida, authorities found a hunting stand positioned within line of sight of Air Force One's parked location, prompting immediate investigation by the Secret Service and FBI. No weapons or individuals were found, but the vantage point raised security concerns, obviously possible attempted assassination location. The stand's isolated placement near Southern Boulevard and its direct view across the canal toward the aircraft stairs led investigators to treat it as a potential threat. And just to be clear, if you look at the Google Maps of this, there's nowhere to hunt here. It's smaller than half the size of a football field. Outside of that, it's nothing but buildings and roads. No other trees, no hunting area. I mean, it's right there. It's right there at Palm Beach, surrounded by urban areas, not hunting areas. So it would be a nefarious intent, obviously. In Washington, D.C., U.S. officials confirmed the CIA was authorized to conduct covert and potentially lethal operations in Southern Caribbean and Venezuelan locations against narcotic cartels and the elements of Nicolás Maduro's government. The move broadens the CIA's operational authority, raising debate over oversight and limits of covert action. Looking now at government oversight. On October 15th, the Pentagon press corps dissolved, essentially, they say, following enforcement of new media restrictions issued by the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. The revised policy required journalists to seek prior approval for interviews, submit transcripts for review, and refrain from publishing material deemed to risk potentially classified disclosures. Major outlets including Fox News, CNN, NPR, the Associated Press, New York Times, pretty much everybody refused to sign the agreement, except One American News Network, or OANN. The Pentagon's access under the new rules is still restricted. They say the changes were intended to, quote, protect against inadvertent release of sensitive defense information. But critics argue the order effectively curtails independent oversight of the U.S. military. And so this is the first time since the Pentagon was established in 1943 that nearly all major news organizations have withdrawn, leaving limited in-house press presence and raising concerns about transparency and accountability. Looking now at terrorism, federal intelligence agencies assess that terrorism threats to the U.S. remain moderate, but capable of inflicting high harm. Both foreign-inspired and domestic extremists are targeting soft sites like shopping centers, churches, and public gatherings. The DHS and FBI warn that the online radicalization continues to drive recruitment and attack planning. Authorities are monitoring indicators such as increased online chatter, explosives arrests, and extremist propaganda across encrypted platforms such as Telegram and Signal. That is it for this week's summary. Remember, these briefings are delivered in real time to Grayman Briefing subscribers on Telegram and Signal, and also via weekly emails. Please interact with this broadcast to help increase its engagement and views. And as always, thanks for listening. Remain aware, be vigilant, and stay safe.